Good morning, everybody. We're in Smithfield today. So Smithfield was an early neighborhood in Birmingham, and it became around the turn of the century, well, about 1900, 1910, became the city's middle class black neighborhood, upper middle class black neighborhood. Later on, when we go see the Jewish cemeteries, we're going to look at the very first neighborhood zoned in Birmingham for African American homeowners, okay? And by that, it defines middle class, right? Originally, Smithfield was white and black, okay? But as more black homeowners moved here, whites moved elsewhere, okay? So about 1910, it is becoming exclusively black, okay? And so this is the place for black homeowners other than the very tiny area we're going to see later on. And by about 1910, 1920, it is the neighborhood, no question about it, the address to have if you're African American. Okay, this is where, who do you think comprises the middle class in the black community? Who might you think? Who might be well off enough to buy a house? Come on.
Say like shop owners, maybe?
Could be.
Not laborers.
Not laborers generally. Well, there's some exception. Teachers, definitely. Even though they pastors down there where we're going to look in a minute is called Teachers and Preachers Row, okay? What few African American lawyers, doctors, one architect, those sorts of folks live in Smithfield, okay? So that's a tiny but important professional upper middle class. In the black community, though, too, barbers were very successful and important. And especially in the earlier home-owning neighborhood that we're going to see in a little bit, barbers were well off enough to buy a house. Waiters sometimes were, too, in the big hotels. Later on, the club up at the top of the mountain up there where you look up from UAB. And so in the white middle class, you're not going to find waiters, are you? You're not going to find waiters, and you're not going to find barbers unless they own a few shops or something like that. And so it doesn't necessarily translate across, okay? Okay, so that's where we are, which is not to say that Smithfield doesn't have a large population also of renters. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means if you want to buy a house, this is where you're going to buy it, right? Your neighbors may be renters, laborers, unskilled workers, who knows what, right? Okay, so it's mixed in that way. Okay, so let's just walk up here. Some of the other people that are going to live in Smithfield are some very prominent names in the civil rights movement. Arthur Shores, maybe you've heard of him. If you haven't, you may. We're going to see Angela Davis's house when we go that way. After this, we're going to caravan that way, and we'll see Angela Davis's house. She wasn't in the civil rights movement here, but she's very important in Birmingham history, African American history, especially the 70s. Okay. Okay, let's walk down to the corner here a little bit. The Smithfield Library, I believe I'm right, 99% sure I'm right, was the first library built for African Americans. And that's not till the 80s, I believe. Prior to that...
the 1880s?
19.
Oh, the first.
Look at that
African-American-
building. That's not 1880s.
Okay, the
right?
first library in Birmingham built for African Americans.
Yeah. Prior to that, black people could go to the downtown Birmingham Public Library one afternoon a week or one evening a week, right? So they could go, but not very often. And again, are they paying taxes?
Yes.
Yeah, they're paying taxes equal to the percentages whites are paying, but they don't have access to stuff, okay? Okay, tell me what you see, given what I've said was the history of Smithfield. Tell me what you see, Trent.
See a lot of residential areas.
Tell me what you see. What kind of a neighborhood is this? You said a lot of residential areas, yes. That doesn't tell me much. Given how I describe the history of Smithfield, what do you see? Somebody?
It's not quite upper middle class.
I'd say that's not what we're looking at, is it? We're not looking at a upper middle class neighborhood, are we? Now, that some parts of it are going to be, but look around here. That back down there. But listen, see this thing that says Center Street? That is the dividing line between black and white. That's what that is.
Center Street.
See up on the sign, street sign? Street
Center.
sign. You see it?
Oh, Center. Yes.
Okay, so that side was African American, this side was white. That's the way segregation worked in Birmingham. It's not that you're half a mile away. You're right across the street. You're right across the street. What does that say to you? What do you say, Anastasia? What does that say to you about segregation, Jim Crow in Birmingham? Somebody? Anastasia, if you're going to say something. Anybody?
That's superficial. Or that the fact that they just the fact that all they care about is literally like something that can be like demarcated by just a line.
So are they not really segregated?
They are, but it's more like the feelings of it are. It just kind of puts into sight the ridiculousness of it all.
You're on the right track, and I would say this is not about physical separation. Africans, they don't become citizens until the 14th Amendment, right? Black folks and white folks in the South had always been right on next door to each other, right?
Social segregation.
You know, you work for me, right? You work in my house. During the slave days, we were all mixed up, right? So it's not about physical separation, but boy, how well do you know what you don't have that, what you got here that they don't have over there, right? Hold on one second. What do they have?
Social separation.
What does that mean?
They go to different businesses and shops, different churches.
Maybe. They can go to the same shops. They can go to all the department stores downtown, have to come in the basement, right? What does it really mean to have Jim Crow segregation? What's it about? You going to see them at the polls? No, you will not. Not very often. What else? You going to be applying for the same jobs? Come on, y'all know.
They want to create a second-class citizen.
It is a second-class citizenship, and I don't care how close you are to them physically, right? You're not going to have the same opportunities. You're not going to have political access. You're not going to have the same social mobility, period, right? So it really doesn't matter. That's the point. Jim Crow is so powerful, isn't it? So entrenched in every aspect of your life that you can be living right on top of each other and have nowhere near the same opportunities. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So that's what I'm trying to get at. So what happened to this middle-class neighborhood we thought we had here?
Middle class left, or
Yeah. When did they leave?
1970s?
Yep. That's exactly right. So what happens is desegregation is what happens here, right? That's what happens here. That's what happens to the 4th Avenue North Black Business District. Once segregation comes down legally, right, with Jim Crow ordinances down in 1962, with the Civil Rights Act of 64, 65, and 68, once that happens, then black people are legally able to move wherever they want to. Might not be easy. They may not be able to do it for a couple of decades. But if they can, they're like anybody else. They're going, right? They're going for the suburbs. They're not going quite yet because they're not that mobile yet. But they are going. And so desegregation destroys, in many ways, segregated black neighborhoods, right? And so what you see is a very depressed neighborhood, right? Would you agree with that?
And this is not me subscribing to the idea at all, but is that the kind of stuff that kind of helped create the? I know there's like a kind of it's still around, but amongst black communities arguing about how segregation had like a overall negative effect on black communities because of examples like
Desegregation?
yes, desegregation.
Yeah, you hear that? Yeah. You hear, definitely, you hear those kinds of things. You hear that they had better schools during segregation, that they got world-class education at Parker High School, right? That there was more discipline. Now, every generation does that, right? They look back and think, what a bunch of bums these people are. We were a lot better than this. So that's kind of generational. But there is some, I can understand some of why they'd say that, right? So if you're black and middle class in the 1980s, are you moving to Smithfield? Maybe, probably not. You know, right? Okay. Let's see. Okay. So what does that look like to you? Anastasia? This complex.
Public housing.
Looks like public housing, right? What makes you say that?
When they were starting to do the public housing sections in cities, they did them all close together in the type of just very basic wood buildings like that.
Why couldn't it just be an apartment building? It just something tells you, something is telling you that. It could be the neighborhood you're in, I don't know. But yes, it is public housing. This is the first public housing project built in Birmingham for blacks, okay? In fact, the public funds used for public housing, it was required by law that you put federal housing in, that it be segregated for whatever neighborhood you were putting it in, right? So this was an African American neighborhood. That's going to be where African American public housing goes. Right down there, you can kind of barely see it, way down, a couple of blocks down. You see those brick buildings, probably the last you can see in your view. That's the first housing project built for whites. They're just a couple of years apart, just down the street, hey. But they're not going to be in the same neighborhood. They're going to be on different sides of the street, aren't they? Black over there, white over here. Yes, ridiculous, but so powerful, important, yeah. Okay, so Anastasia, tell me, describe those, because you were saying.
They're single story, they're very small, like each particular family lot size is very small. They have minimal,
Give me a positive characteristic. You're saying small, minimal. What's something you might say is very positive about this design? What do each one of them have?
Porch,
Yep, each one of them's got a porch. That ain't bad.
chimneys.
Chimneys. What else? What does the whole complex have?
Got a common yard area.
It's got a common yard. come right down here. Backyards. And this building, not so one, two, the third building is a community center. It's pretty cool. They had Boy Scouts in there, they had band, they had the YMCA, they had all kinds of stuff in there, right? So dismal? I don't think so. Not so bad, right? Compare it, though, to the 1970s and 80s public housing. Think about Chicago, for God's sake. Those are warehouses. About 30 stories of an absolute warehouse. No front porches for anybody. Maybe some kind of courtyard, I don't know. The other thing is that both of these public housing, this one and Eagleton down there for whites, they were meant as temporary housing. Temporary housing. So that when you are able, then you transition out, buy yourself a house, right? I know a number of white people that grew up in Eagleton. They weren't going to stay there forever. They didn't intend to. And then they got where they moved out and bought a house. Angela Davis was born right in there.
She was born where?
Right in there.
Somewhere.
Right there.
Oh, this?
No, in this complex.
Okay.
Okay? Her father was an entrepreneur. Whoever said small shop owners, was it you? Yeah. He owned a gas station. Her mother was a teacher and had worked on a master's degree. That's who lived in there.
When were these built then?
These were built in the 30s.
Okay.
Yeah. During the New Deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Depression. These were built just a couple of years before those. Okay?
They look very well maintained.
They're very well maintained. Hey, I could think of a lot worse places physically to live, right?
I prefer that kind of public housing than the 30s.
High-rise horror stories. And the thing the statistics show about public housing circa 1970s, 80s, 90s is that once you move in there, you ain't never getting out. Not because somebody won't let you, but because there are no opportunities, no way. It's intended to be your permanent housing, really. But these, they had strong applications. You had to have a job, you had to have this, you had to have that. They're not letting just anybody in here, right? So very different thing, and here it is. Okay, let's walk down here a little bit. What do you see here? Somebody? Alyssa, what do you see there?
The brick house?
Yeah?
A one-story residential building has a front porch,
Got any idea when it might have been built?
probably the 30s.
Anybody else? What about that one?
With the, is it wrought iron?
It does have wrought iron, but look at the roofs. Look at the roofs and tell me when you think they probably were built.
50s or 60s?
Anybody else?
It looks. I'm thinking maybe the 1930s. It looks even older. It looks. I don't.
Much
It looks run
older.
down.
They're about 1900.
Oh no.
Don't they look a lot like in Avondale with those hipped roofs? And that's a pyramidal roof, a pyramidal roof, right? And they're L-shaped. See how they jut out that front bay? Victorian era, right? So I'm thinking late 1800s, early 1900s, right? So why in the world did you say 30s, 40s, whoever said that? What about this house? Where'd that brick come from, for heaven's sakes? What does it tell you? What does the brick tell you? The wrought iron, the wrought iron.
That's not at all how it looked. There's been many additions and additions and
Meaning what? What did you say? I heard
Renovated
somebody
or-
say something.
was it renovated or?
Yeah, it was definitely renovated. What it says to me is somebody put some investment into these houses, 40s, 50s with the wrought iron, I would guess, right? And then brick maybe a little bit later, but at some point, when things are on the verge of collapsing with the wrought iron, in terms of segregation. And the brick, I'd say a little bit later. Anyway, I think you see some reinvestment in those houses at some point, at least by the 40s. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So let's walk a little bit down here. And also while we're moving, you see the Legion Field back there? Yeah. Was that public or private? Is it public or private now?
Private. Is it private?
Is it private?
I,
Who's it own? Who owns it?
the bank? Regions Bank.
Come on. What is, huh?
The UAB?
No.
Is it the city?
The city of Birmingham owns it.
I wasn't sure.
The city of Birmingham owns
Oh,
it.
they own Regions Field. But I would think it
I
was
want to talk
Region.
about this right
Okay,
here.
Okay.
So, city of Birmingham built it. The city of Birmingham owns it. It was built, I believe, in the 20s. Maybe a little off on that, but I think it was. It's sitting right here in the backyard or front yard of Smithfield. Could black people go there? No. They're paying for it. That's a big monster. But they don't have access to it during segregation, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's look a little bit at these houses. See that brick complex right and straight in front of us? That's the Eagleton that was built for whites. Anybody tell me what kind of structures these are? I know they're residential.
Shotgun house.
Shotgun houses. And we know what that is. Alyssa, what is it?
Well, according to the story, the bullet could go through the house, and they were very straight and narrow.
It's one room behind.
It's one room behind another, so you could
behind
stand in the front, shoot a gun, it would never hit a wall, right? Do those, in and of themselves, look, does that one look particularly shabby, or the yellow one down there?
This one looks okay. The second one doesn't look so good. The roof is.
It needs some work,
Yeah.
but the one
But
down
the other-
there
not-
has been
not too
renovated.
bad.
So it's
Not
not
really.
about the structure itself, I don't think, right? It's what it represents, especially in the South, to African Americans. It suggests poverty. It suggests segregation. Plenty of white people lived in shotgun houses too. But in the black community, has a particular stench to it. But the buildings themselves, when do you think those were built? What do you say, Trent? Just give it a guess. Look at that roof. You see the rafter tails under there?
Oh, 1900s or early.
I'd say
10s,
1920s.
Okay.
Look at the windows. Look at the rafter tails coming out from under the roof. That is so 20s, 10s, 20s. Okay? So why am I saying that? What year is it now?
2026.
So that makes them,
100 years old.
they're not on the ground, are they?
No.
You're not going to have buildings built now for working class people or middle class people that are going to be around in 100 years.
No.
They're designed to
all right.
fall apart in 7 years. The materials have to be constantly renovated. But these standing for 100 years, right? Okay. Let's see. What time do we have? Somebody?
10, 12 right now.
10:12. Okay. Well, let's get in the car and because there are some bigger houses down that way that gives you. Let's go this. Y'all follow me. We're going to go down here, take a left, and then we're going to go that way over the hill. Okay. This hill we're going over becomes known as Dynamite Hill during the Civil Rights period, okay? And that's because there were a lot of bombings around in here. Why would there be so many bombings?
Majority African American area.
Huh?
And when it's a black neighborhood, you think they get targeted those
Why?
areas, or intimidation?
They're not doing anything.
Intimidation.
Well, they are doing something. they're moving into white areas right here. That's what's happening. And that ain't going to work during the Jim Crow, Bull Connor. That is not going to work, okay? And a couple of other neighborhoods, poorer than this one, you have African Americans moving. And when that happens, bombs happen, right? That's the way it is, okay? All right, let's get in the car. Follow me down. Okay, I wanted you to get an idea of the middle class identity, that middle, upper middle class identity, and this is a good part of it. This house here, it's got sort of a Dutch roof, Dutch gable roof. Do you see that? If you look at Dutch architecture ever, a lot of them have those kind of roofs, like those little hats that you sometimes associate with Dutch folks. The man that designed that was named Wallace Rayfield. He also designed the 16th Street Baptist Church that got blown up.
Was he African American?
Yes.
Okay.
He was African American, and he designed several in this neighborhood that are still standing. He designed many churches. He designed buildings all over the South, and some outside the South. He designed for white clients sometimes. So what do you see on this house? What makes me say middle class, even upper middle class in this neighborhood?
I mean, it's larger than.
Okay, it's large. What else?
Oh,
It's
it is
two-story.
It is two-story, yes.
What else?
Very large porch.
Okay, it's got a large porch. Do you see where the car is parked?
And a portico.
It's called a porte cochere. Porte cochere, otherwise known as carport, right? But it's known as a porte cochere. It's a permanent structure that's open, right? And boy, if that doesn't signify middle or upper middle class in the 1920s, I don't care where you are. If you're in Redmond or wherever it is, there it is right there. And so why does that suggest middle class if you've got a porte cochere?
You have a car.
You got a car, right? Yep, absolutely. And it's got some other details about it. It's got that prominent chimney,
Yeah.
the stucco with the front details on it that are interesting up there in pink, and that sort of thing. That house is largely it's in its original state, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hadn't had renovations that undo the original architecture. Okay? This, how would you describe this house? I mean, just generally. Big, little, medium?
Pretty big.
It's fairly, yeah.
Two-story brick.
Again.
It's got a porte cochere over here.
Share. It has again a prominent chimney, pretty well.
It's got the original windows. Almost everything on it is original
Yeah.
also, so it's well kept, right? This kind of architecture is the absolute rarefied top of the line in the African American community. This is the top of the socioeconomic ladder.
And this was also
In the-
designed by Rayfield?
No,
Okay.
this was not.
Okay.
And so in the 1920s, when these were built, absolute top of the pecking order. Those of you that were in Redmont, how do these compare with those? That's the absolute top of the line in the white community that we saw in Redmont, right? Absolute top of the pecking order in the city of Birmingham. Still is in the city of Birmingham.
These are not nearly as extravagant.
They're not nearly as
Not-
extra. They're nice,
Not as
but if you compare,
certainly.
no, go ahead.
They're not as like out of the way compared to those. Those are made so that it's really hard to get to them. They're
Yep.
on top of a hill. They're
Yep.
in like winding
Yep.
suburbs
Yep.
with the winding streets. This
Yeah.
is not. This is in the middle of the city in a good formation.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah,
Smith-
that's one of the differences. And remember how you had to have a certain lot size, a certain setback size in Redmont. Everything about it was precisely done. And they're just big mansions, right? These are very nice houses, but they don't compare architecturally, or however you want to look at it, to the top of the line in the white community. That's the kind of comparison I'm trying to make, right? Perfectly nice, wonderful houses. I'd like either one of them, right?
Yeah.
And then you can just look around here too, and you can see evidence of middle-class bungalows all around, right? All around. Right in front of us here, and that sort of thing. As we were coming in, and as we go out, take a look at how many vacant lots there are, and or lots that have brand new buildings on them from the 2000s, the drugstore, to this, to that, okay? So lots of things just fell down here for lack of maintenance, occupancy, all of those kinds of things. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so we're going to get back in the car, and we'll turn right and go back and up Dynamite Hill. And just follow me. So, I bet you didn't think I was going to bring you here. Maybe you did, if you read the syllabus. So you saw the Angela Davis house, right? Queen Anne house. Yeah, it's beautiful. Built in the 1890s, early 1900s. And when they moved there, and I have to go back and look at the maps and such, but when the Davis family moved there, that part of the neighborhood must have been was zoned for whites, and all hell broke loose. Bull Connor himself took it upon himself to let them know that the Klan would be watching. And so Angela Davis talks about in her autobiography that the men in the neighborhood were armed every night and out every night looking for to see if the Klan, if they needed to protect themselves and stuff like that. So very dicey business. Okay, so what do we have here, and why are we here? Why would Jewish cemeteries be here?
They were not welcomed in, no, that's not true.
Why do you think they would be here?
Is there a Jewish community here?
That's exactly right. Yeah, just kind of try the simple answer first. Yeah, so at the earliest Jewish community was in this neighborhood, Fountain Heights, right next door. It was black, white. The early Jewish population just about all lived there, okay? There were two waves of Jews to Birmingham. The earliest wave were the more affluent German Jews, right? About 1880s, 1890s. And then the second wave from Eastern Europe comes about 1910, okay? And they live in Fountain Heights. Around 1910 or so, the original wave of Jews, German Jews, move across to around Ramsey. Most of the Jewish children went to Ramsey, or over near Highland Park, that way. So they're going to move south, all right? And the Eastern Jews follow in about 20 years. These migration patterns seem to take about 20 years in that way, okay? Okay, the neighborhood around here is not Jewish. Not the one right here is not Jewish. This was the original neighborhood set aside by the city of Birmingham in the 1870s or 80s for African American homeowners. This one right here, okay? So it wasn't saying no middle class blacks could be here. It didn't say you couldn't own a house here if you were black. And so they anticipated that. And looks like they're fine with it, right? And so you can see what it meant to be black and middle class. Most of these are like 20s, but there are some that are older than that.
So they had black middle class homes alongside Jewish middle class homes.
Jewish are over there, but there were
Okay.
blacks living
Yes.
that way. They weren't homeowners. If they're going to own a home, it's going to be right here. And then it evolved next door, right, into Smithfield. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so Jewish neighborhood here. Why two Jewish neighborhood cemeteries?
There are different sects. One is Reform, one is Orthodox or Conservative.
Conservative, yeah. So because, remember you had two different synagogues, so what? You've got Baptist, Free Will, First, you've got all kinds of, not anything unusual about that. But they prefer, they have different burial habits, different philosophies, that kind of stuff. And so they have their own cemeteries, right? If you wander through this, you'll see, if you know much about Birmingham, Pizitz, all kinds of families like that, you're going to find them here. You're going to find them one place or the other, okay? There's even a section somewhere that way, I think, a small section where African Americans were buried. I believe I'm right about that, okay? Last couple of things, when we were coming up Dynamite Hill.
Oh, you wanted to say something about Parker School?
Yeah, and I'll say that too, thank you. When we were coming up Dynamite Hill, I should have pointed it out before we came, but there were some wonderful 60s ranch style houses. They were very long and large. If you didn't maybe notice on the way out, those were built by a black contractor for black homeowners. They're very big. You can easily take them and put them right in the middle of Homewood or right in Vestavia. They don't look a thing different, do they? And so that's in the 60s. So that part of Smithfield in the 60s is still the address to have, okay? The first black Supreme Court justice in Alabama lived in that part of Smithfield and all kinds of stuff, okay?
Was that, God, what was his name? The black judge, anyway.
I'm thinking Oscar Adams, but I might be
Oh,
right.
Oscar Adams. Okay, I was
Okay.
thinking if they're good. Oh, you're talking about in Alabama.
Alabama Supreme
Okay.
Court, yeah. Okay, anybody got any questions? Okay, so Parker High School.
Yes.
Just beyond the housing project on 8th Avenue North is a great big school, and that's Parker High School. It's like the third one. It's not anywhere near the original one. But the original one, when it was built, was the largest high school for blacks in the country. What's Birmingham up to? I thought they didn't want black mobility. What's going on? Well, what's going on is that there was a black educator named A.H. Parker who went to the Birmingham Board of Education a number of times and kept saying, we need a high school for black children. The prevailing attitude was, what? Black kids can't advance like that. They don't have the intellect. And besides, the jobs they're going to have don't require a high school education, right? They're going to be working in the, sweeping up and doing different things. But A.H. Parker convinced them to try it. Just try it. I promise you, it'll work, it'll work. And so they did, to its credit, I'd say. So again, segregation has a lot of complicated layers to it, all kinds of stuff going on. And so Parker High School had the first great music program, probably in the city, and trained, he was a jazz musician, the director of the music department, and trained a lot of first-class jazz musicians who then went north and played for big bands. A lot of them became real famous. We kind of, what do you call it, a farm, baseball farm team. It was kind of like that here. And it was that program out of Parker High School that sent them up, and they were well received and well regarded because they were first-class musicians. They also had all kinds of other programs. And so it was definitely a success. and it defied the logic that some people had, or the prejudice that some people had, a lot of people had about black folks. Okay?